tractate that we just completed is Tractate Chagigah, that talks about starts out by talking about the various offerings that were made during the three festivals, the three pilgrimage festivals, Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot, where people were required to appear before in the temple before Hashem. The first Mishnah in the tractate starts out. It says, "Akola hayavin b'yah." All are obligated in the mitzvah of re'iyah. Re'iyah is the mitzvah of appearing during the pilgrimage festivals in the temple. Chutz b'chadesh shoteh v'chatan, except a deaf mute, a deranged person, and a minor, v'tumtum v'andraginos, and a person of undetermined sex, and a deranged and a hermaphrodite, v'nashim v'avadim she'inam meshucharim, women and slaves who have not been freed, Hagigah, והסומה, והחולה, והזקן, ומי שאינו יכול לעלות ברגליו. The lame, the blind, the infirm, the aged, and the one who is unable to ascend by foot. As I mentioned, this tractate deals with the various festival offerings that are made during the pilgrimage festivals. Starting out with the Olat Re'ah. This is a elevation offering or a burned offering in that it is completely burned on the altar. None of it is consumed by us. It's completely burned, and that's the appearance elevation offering that you have to make when you appear for the festivals, each of the three festivals. You then have the Shalmei Hagigah, and that's a peace offering that is eaten by us people, and that is also made as a festival peace offering. And then the third offering that's made is the Shalmei Simcha, which is basically the peace offering for celebration. Since we're required to rejoice on our festivals, v'samachta v'chagecha, you shall rejoice on your festivals. Part of that rejoicing is the peace offering, the simcha peace offering, the celebration peace offering, which are eaten throughout the entire festival. We're supposed to derive pleasure from eating the meat of those offerings. The second part of the Masechet actually kind of gets a little bit away from talking about the various festivals, the pilgrimage festivals, and starts talking about the laws of Tumah and Tahara, specifically the laws of ritual purity and impurity. Specifically with regard to Trumah and Kodesh, we learn the difference. We learn about the ultimate, the highest source of impurity, which is a human Jewish corpse, which is referred to as Avi Avot Hatumah, or the grandfather, literally father of fathers, of impurity. Anyone who comes in contact with a corpse or is in the same building as a corpse is then becomes impure, and they are known as Ava Tumah, or the father. Literally, that's the son of the Avi Avot, which is the grandfather. And then it can keep getting passed on down, all the way down to, the next level would be Rishon, the first level of impurity, then Sheni, Shlishi, which is as far as we can go with the case of Trumah, and then Kodesh we can go up to a fourth degree, which specifically only in the case of, specifically with holiness. I talk about the various objects that can contract Tumah, and then the preparation to actually receive Tumah, what the difference is between tameh and pasul, unfit. Tameh is impure, pasul is unfit. Once it gets something that's gotten past the third or fourth degree, as they said, it's no longer referred to as tameh, it's referred to as unfit, pasul. It can't be used. They also talk a little bit about what you have to do with purifications from various levels of impurity. And then finally talks about specifically impurity that just affects the hands, tumat yadayim, and what you have to do to resolve that. I just want to take this opportunity once again, thank our Rabbi Weisblum, who's here every morning, 6 a.m. Never ever misses a day. I know sometimes he does it on no sleep, sometimes very little sleep, and I know how much effort he puts into the preparation for each class. And it's very much appreciated. For those of you that can't make it here at 6 a.m., we do put it up online on Rabbi Weisblum's YouTube page, so YouTube channel. Anyone that wants to look for it, just look for Weisblum, And we have all the Daf Yomi classes on, usually a day or two in advance, so that you can keep up with it. So again, I want to thank the rabbi. I want to thank David Cohen and Gilbert Gonzalez and Catherine Davidson for coming and studying with us on a regular basis every morning at 6 a.m. Yishar Koach.
Cool.
Good morning, everybody. I'd first like to wish everybody a Gemarrah Tova, a happy and a healthy New Year. I'd like to dedicate this Siyum in memory of, is it your mother? What's her name?
Dvorah Bat Gittel.
What?
Dvorah Bat Gittel.
Dvorah Bat Gittel. Where, as you know, today is Erev Yom Kippur, and Yom Kippur is the Day of Atonement, Kapara. The davening, the service talks about the avoda in the Beis Hamikdash. It goes through specifically the avoda of the Kohen Gadol and what he does step by step by step. And I'm trying to figure out a way to tie it into the Gemarrah Chagigah here. And at the end of Chagigah, it's Chavav 26. It basically elaborates on the removal of the vessels of the Beis Hamikdash, which vessels are affected, which vessels you have to immerse, the purification of the vessels, the purification of the courtyard. It talks about the Tumah, the Tara. So in a way, even though it's not directly related, it's indirectly related. It does talk about, it talks about the avoda in the Beis Hamikdash. So that's tied into the holiday that's coming up this evening. And I'll just read from the Mishnah here. It says it elaborates on the removal of the vessel. Ketzad Ma'avir and Altar Hazara. How did they remove the vessels for the purification of the courtyard? Which vessels are affected? Matbilan, that's a Kalim Sheyu B'Mikdash. They immersed the vessels that were in the temple over the festival. And all through the vessel they would say to the Kohanim that are Amei Aretz, take care, be careful, Shalot Tigu B'Shulchan. Do not touch the table. The table cannot be immersed after the festival. Therefore, it is imperative that the Amei Aretz refrain from touching it. So what table is this talking about? This is talking about the table that was in the Heichal, the Kodesh HaKodashim, the Holy of Holies. And every Shabbos, basically, the Kohen would arrange on 12 loaves, lechem al-panim, known as, that's the panim bread. And then regarding this table, the verse states, and there's a pasuk that says, "V'natata al shochan lechem panim ufnei tamid," and you shall place on the table panim before me continuously, and it may not be moved, and it must stay in its place. And all the vessels that were in the holy temple, what they did was they had second and third replacement sets. Why did they do that? So if the first ones became tamei, they would bring in the second ones in place. All the vessels that were in the holy temple will require immersion after the festival, except for the golden altar and the copper altar. The golden altar and the copper altar, why them? Because the golden altar was located inside the Heichal and was used to burn the daily incense, and it was because of the shittim wood plated with gold. And the copper altar was located in the courtyard. And it was on this altar that sacrifices, korbanos, were burned, and sacrificial blood was thrown, and was built of shittim wood and was plated with copper. And these are the words of Rabbi Elazar, but the Chachamim say, why don't they require immersion? Because they're plated, and what does that mean? They'll explain that. They explain that later on in this Gemarrah, but it's just comes full circle here. Usually when you learn Daf Yomi, the Daf Yomi ties into the Parsha, the daily portion of the week. The Daf Yomi ties into the Parshios. It ties into the Chagim, the Sukkot, Pesach, Shavuos. Whenever the Daf Yomi, the schedule isn't by accident. The schedule is set in a certain way, and so I just thought it was very apropos. I wish you yashar koach to again Gilbert, to the rabbi for preparing every day tirelessly, effortlessly. And I know how it is preparing on little sleep. I got like 1 hour of sleep last night. I still have the thought of swinging chickens over my head, but I'm trying to get in the mindset of kapara, atonement, and to David for tirelessly filming everything every single day, to Gilbert and to Catherine, day in, day out being here. So I wish everybody, again, a Gemarrah Tova, and now we're going to proceed to the Siyum.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Before I go to the word of the Siyum, the last phrase, the last paragraph in this chapter I think it's connected to the Yom Kippur. Soon you see how it's a little in a different direction. On Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, we gather together and we ask for forgiveness, for God to atone for all of our sins. And the declaration we have before Kol Nidrei, before the annulment of vow, is we allow Torah scholars, and they said that even they committed sins, Torah scholars, the concept of Gehinom, which lucidly translated hell, it's not applied to them. Kal vachom misalmandra. Salmandra is the name of a creature that born, according to Rashi here, by all kind of sorcery, and is staying in a place that is burning for 7 years. It's hard for us to comprehend, but the idea is, since that umas salmandra shetoledet eshi, that it's a result of a fire, and therefore it doesn't make a difference for that animal to be inside a very hot temperature. Hasach midama en or sholedet bo, the one who cover his body with, anointed his body with that blood, it's not going to control him. Talmidei chachamim shekol gufan hesh. Torah scholars, as the Maharsha said, that the whole body is like fire because they involved with a Torah learning. Dichtiv alochot dvari ka'esh neum Hashem. They said in Jeremiah 23 that the word of the Lord is like fire. Alachat kama v'chama, that the fire will not control them. The second one, Amar Ish Lakish, en ur shel gehinom sholetet befoshei Yisrael. So Tosfot tells us that the idea here, it's not everyone, it's those who are in the quote-unquote small violations, people who committed all kind of minor sins. So even they sent them to, which we call Gehinom, they survive and eventually they reach the Gan Eden. Kal vachomer mizbach hazahav. We compare it to the golden altar. Ma mizbach hazahav, the same way as the Torah instructed us to build an altar that's made out of wood, but there's a cover that it's in gold. She'ein alav ela ke'ovi dinar zahav, that is a very thin cover made out of gold. Anyway, kamash shanim en ha'or sholetet bo, so the survival of that altar, even it's in a high temperature, the incense that we put there will not change the status. Posh'ei Israel shemel'im mitzvot kerimon, those who are sinners among us, but they are still completed their lives with doing so much good. We compare them to pomegranates, the same way as the pomegranates contain many seeds. So people who even were not observant, but they are still committed, they are involved with a lot of goods, such as doing charity, doing kindness, visiting sick, and do a lot of mitzvot. Dichtiv kefelach harimon rakatech, they said in Song of Songs, in a positive way, al tikri rakatech el harekanim shebach, meaning that people even unintentionally does a lot of mitzvot during their lifetime. Alachat kama v'chama, how much so that because of all the good deeds, eventually they reach, which we call the paradise, the Gan Eden. Hadran ala chomer bekodesh usrik ala masechet Chagigah. Now we're going to do Hadran, which is the text that we declare upon completion of the tractate, and ask to revisit that tractate and pray for all of us, especially at this time, to be sealed for the good year and good life. הדרן לך מסכת חגיגה והדרך עלה, נתן לך מסכת חגיגה ודעתן לך, לא נתשם לך מסכת חגיגה ולא נתשם לך לא בעלמא הדין ולא בעלמא דעתי. הדרן לך מסכת חגיגה והדרך עלה, נתן לך מסכת חגיגה ודעתך עלה, לא נתשם לך מסכת חגיגה ולא נתשם מינן, לא בעלמא הדין ולא בעלמא דעתי. הדרן לך מסכת חגיגה והדרך עלה, נתן לך מסכת חגיגה ודעתך עלה, לא נתשם לך מסכת חגיגה ולא נתשם מינן, לא בעלמא הדין ולא בעלמא דעתי. Then we have a list of 10 sons of Bar Papa, whom according to some sources are people who try to make peace. If you read all this disputation in Talmud, you see those names, that they are the people who reconcile differences, and there are other explanations why we mentioned his 10 sons. יהי רצון מפניך נעלנו להותינו שתי תורתך ומנותנו בעולם הזה, ותהא עמנו לעולם הבא, חנינא בר פפא, רמי בר פפא, נחמן בר פפא, אחי בר פפא, אבא מרי בר פפא, רפרם בר פפא, רכיש בר פפא, סורחב בר פפא, עדה בר פפא, דרו בר פפא. Now we ask God to help us to sweeten the word of Torah and also to understand especially the part that it looks esoteric. הערב נתנה לנו דברי תורתך בפינו לפיות עמך בית ישראל, ואנחנו וצאצאינו וצאצאינו וצאצאי צאצאינו עמך בית ישראל, כולם ידי שמך ולמדי תורתך לשמה. מאויבי תחכמני מסורך כלולם ליבי תמיד וחוקך למען לא יבוש, לעולם לא אשכח פיקודיך כי בם חייתני, ברוך אתה אדוני למדני חוקיך, אמן אמן אמן, סלע ואל. Now we thank God for being part of studies and come in prayer and be part of Beit HaMidrash, house of study. מודים אנחנו לפניך מנהלו לבתנו ששמת חלקנו ביושבי בית המדרש ולא שמת חלקנו מיושבי קרנות. יושבי קרנות meaning people who waste their life in vanity. שאנו משכימים והם משכימים, that we wake up and they woke up, אנו משכימים לדברי תורה והם משכימים לדברים בטלים. We wake up to study Torah and they wake up for the meaningless thought and meaningless life. אנו עמלים ואין עמלים, אנו עמלים ומקבלים שכר ואין עמלים ואינם מקבלים שכר. We have a labor and they have a labor. In the business world, the laborers, the sales people will tell you that they get reward only for the sales. By us, even you attend a class and you do not understand anything, since we believe that your neshama is there, so you get a reward just by attending. אנו רצים והם רצים, אנו רצים לך ולמראה ורצים לבאר שחת, שנאמר ואתה עולים תורידם לבאר שחת, אנשי דמים ואומה לא יפצו עמהם ואני אפתח בך. יהי רצון בפניך, אדוני אלוהי, כשם שעזרני לסיים מסכת חגיגה, כן תעזרני להתחיל מסכתות וספרים אחרים ולסיים ללמוד ולא נשמעו לעשות וכן את כל דברי תלמוד תורתך באהבה וזכות כל התנאים והמורים תלמידי חכמים יעמוד לי ולזרעי שלא תאמרו שהתורה מפינו מזרעי ובזרע זרעי עד עולם, ותתקיים בי ותהלך לך, תנחה אותך ותשבך בשורבך לשמור עליך והקיצות תשיחך, כי ירבו ימיך ויוסיפו לך שנות חיים אורך ימים בימינם בשמאלה אושר בכבוד. אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו והשלום יתקדל. יתקדל שמי רבו ויזמני בקנה שיחי אמן יתפרק וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתהלל יתהלל שמי קודשה וכו' לעילא לעילא מקום פרדה ושירתה.
בויחם לשולוים מלאכי השולוים מלאכי